Let's talk about cybersecurity. It's this invisible conflict that's happening all around us, all the time. And it's not just some techie niche, it's shaping our economy, our most critical infrastructure, and yeah, even the future of our democracy. So we're going to pull back the curtain and really decode this digital battlefield.
Okay, so here's the plan. First, we're going to figure out what the battleground even is. What do we mean by cyberspace? Then we'll look at who's fighting and what they're after. After that, we'll see how we're trying to defend ourselves. And we'll wrap up by asking a pretty big question. Is this a war that can ever really be won?
All right, let's dive right in. To get a handle on cybersecurity, you first have to understand the space it's trying to protect. You have to understand cyberspace itself. It's easy to think of cyberspace as this vague, abstract cloud, but it's not. It has a real, physical layer. We're talking the actual hardware, the cables running under the ocean, the satellites in orbit. Then you've got the syntactic layer. That's all the code, the software, the ones and zeros that tell the hardware what to do. And finally, there's the semantic layer. That's us. It's the human part, where we see a screen and the information actually means something to us.
So when we talk about cybersecurity, all we're really saying is that it's the never-ending job of protecting all three of those layers from people who want to do harm. And the key word there is ongoing. This isn't a one-and-done fix. It's a constant, evolving battle. So what are the weapons in this battle? Well, the general term is malware. You've probably heard of some of these. You've got your viruses and worms, which are basically designed to copy themselves and spread, like a virus, causing damage along the way. Then you have Trojan horses, which are super sneaky. They pretend to be a useful program, but once you let them in, they open a secret backdoor for an attacker. Spyware is just what it sounds like. It spies on you, gathering your info. And then there's ransomware, which is nasty stuff. It grabs all your files, locks them up, and demands you pay up to get them back. Okay, so we know the weapons, but who's actually firing them, and why? This is where it gets really interesting, because the digital battlefield is filled with all sorts of players, and they're all fighting for very different reasons. And what this slide shows is just how tangled this web is. This isn't just countries attacking other countries. A government can target an individual. A single person can go after a huge corporation. A group can attack another group. It's a total free-for-all where pretty much anyone can be an attacker and anyone can be a victim. For instance, one type of conflict is what we call hacktivism. It's a mashup of hacking and activism. A perfect example is a group like WikiLeaks. They use their hacking skills to push a political agenda, usually by leaking secret government documents. It's a form of protest, for sure, but it's also almost always illegal. Then, of course, you have the gigantic world of cybercrime. Here, the motive is way simpler: money. We're talking about theft, fraud, and extortion on a mind-boggling scale. The economic damage is just staggering. To put it in perspective, it's estimated that China's theft of intellectual property from American companies alone cost those companies up to $600 billion. And sometimes the world of state-sponsored hacking and straight-up crime collide, and the result is chaos. Let me tell you the story of Eternal Blue. This was a seriously powerful hacking tool, probably built by America's own NSA. But then, in 2016, a mysterious group called the Shadow Brokers stole it and just dumped it online for everyone to see. Well, it didn't take long for criminals to grab this government-grade cyber weapon and use it to launch two of the biggest ransomware attacks the world had ever seen: WannaCry and NotPetya. And the financial fallout? It was just unbelievable. That one attack, NotPetya, caused an estimated $10 billion in damages around the globe. It's the single most destructive cyber attack in history. Huge companies like the shipping giant Maersk lost over $300 million each. And this is the really crucial part to understand. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. A digital attack brought global shipping, a very, very physical industry, to its knees. It shut down ports, it stranded cargo, and it created real-world chaos for the entire global supply chain. But the goal isn't always to break things or steal money. Sometimes cyber tools are all about influence. Take the 2016 hack of the Democratic National Committee in the US. The hackers didn't hold the data for ransom. Instead, they strategically leaked sensitive information to the public, all in an alleged effort to mess with the presidential election and influence who won. And finally, you get to actual cyber war. This can be strategic, like the famous Stuxnet virus. This thing was an incredibly sophisticated weapon, supposedly built by the US and Israel. It didn't just steal information, it actually crossed over into the real world and physically destroyed centrifuges in Iran's nuclear program. Then you have operational attacks, which are used to support traditional boots-on-the-ground military missions. So, with all of this coming at us, from criminals, activists, nation-states, how in the world do you even begin to defend yourself? It's a tough, tough fight. Think about it. An attacker only has to find one weak spot, just one unlocked door. But a defender? They have to guard every single door, all the time. The methods are pretty varied. One approach is to fight fire with fire. You hire skilled hackers to work for the good guys. Another is something really basic but absolutely essential, backing up your data constantly. And of course, there's pouring money into technical defenses like firewalls and strong encryption, and trying to scare people off with tougher laws and punishments. Now, on a national level, this slide gets at a really fundamental debate. Do you go with an offensive strategy? Show off your own hacking powers to make other countries think twice before attacking you? Or do you take a more defensive approach? You agree not to mess with their systems, hoping they'll do the same for you. It's this huge strategic tension, and there's no easy answer. But here's the thing. Even with all these defenses, there are some really powerful, deep-seated reasons why cyber insecurity might be a problem we can never fully solve. We might just be stuck in a forever war. So why is that? Well, first, there's us. The human element is always the weakest link. We click on sketchy links because it's convenient. Second, the bad guys are always getting smarter. Third, cyberspace doesn't have borders, but our laws and police forces do, which makes a unified global response almost impossible. And finally, the way our digital lives are built, with all our data packed into a few centralized places, just creates a massive, tempting target for hackers. And that last point, centralization, is so important. Just think about your smartphone for a second. It's become a skeleton key to your entire existence, right? Your bank details, your photos, your contacts, your location history, it's all there. By putting our whole lives in one basket, we've made the attacker's job 1,000 times easier. One good hack, and they get everything. Which leaves us with a final, really big question to chew on. In a world where everything and everyone is connected, where we're packing more and more of our lives into these digital spaces, is the idea of achieving total security just a fantasy? It's a question we're all going to have to grapple with as we move forward.